My dear fellow dressmakers, I am happy to greet you at the new series of the compulsory tutorials to draft and work with corset patterns. Due to numerous details I keep telling and will tell you that you can draft the necessary pattern of the specific size and style for the specific body only when you have enough sewing experience, as there is an enormous number of sewing peculiarities which should be considered in drafting. In this course, I will show the pattern drafting for different body shapes in the first tutorials. In the following tutorials, you will learn the pattern classifications according to the future style. So, let's start from the first simple pattern with 2 front curves and high neckline. The word simple is in quotation marks. In fact, it is not a very simple pattern to use, and you will see it soon. There are quite many methods and ways to draft such patterns, and even free patterns are available on the internet. However, when it comes to the corset making according to such patterns, you find out that something is wrong with the pattern. Let's sort it out. First of all, let me explain what high neckline means. It is when the upper cut of the front center does not go below the critical line. The critical line is 2 centimeters above the bust line. Please remember where this line is, as we will get back to it very often. As an example, I use the method which I always use, and in fact, my pattern alteration method is based on this technique developed 25 years ago. I will constantly get back to this technique, and I will always promote it as I am convinced that it is the fastest way to draft a pattern for any body shape without making it from scratch. However, we will review it later. For now, let's draft the initial pattern. I take the measurements of one of my dress forms with the bust circumference of 87 centimeters for this example. Let's call this model Anna. I will need the following measurements. I will list all the necessary measurements to draft the initial corset pattern. Of course, those of you who have already acquired my courses know that I very rarely use the front measurements on waist, abdomen, and hips. I use them only in difficult and special cases when the client has a convex tummy and I need to draft a custom pattern. As a rule, I use the measurements along these main lines only. Today, I am using the front measurements to draft more precise darts on the pattern. Above bust front, 45 centimeters. Bust front, 46 centimeters. Bust circumference, 87 centimeters. Under bust front, 38 centimeters. Under bust circumference, 74 centimeters. Waist front, 34 centimeters. Waist circumference, 64 centimeters. Stomach front, 40 centimeters. Stomach circumference, 84 centimeters. Hip front, 43 centimeters. Hip circumference, 92 centimeters. Bust princess seam to bust princess seam, aka bust center, 18 centimeters. Clip 1, toward the armscye, 10 centimeters. Clip 2, toward top, 8 centimeters. Side length from waist to bust, 15 centimeters. Length from bust to waist, 10 centimeters. Length from waist to stomach, 8 centimeters. Length from waist to hip, 19 centimeters. Side height, 17 centimeters. Height of shoulder blades, 17 centimeters. Back height, 14 centimeters. First of all, we need to draw a grid of the pattern. To speed up and to illustrate the process, I draw the entire pattern, including the grid, with thin lines first, and I will outline the lines as I explain. Please get the table with the measurements next to the pattern. So the algorithm is as following. Draw a vertical line on the left part of the paper sheet. Mark the point T in about 25 centimeters from the bottom of the sheet. Measure the distance equal to length from bust to waist from point T and mark point UB. The segment T to UB equals 10 centimeters. Measure the distance equal to side length from waist to bust and mark point B. The segment T to B equals 15 centimeters. Measure downward length from waist to stomach from point T and mark point S. The segment T to S equals 8 centimeters. Measure downward length from waist to hip from point T and mark point H. The segment T to H equals 19 centimeters. Draw the horizontal lines to the right from points B, UB, T, S, and H. We continue drafting. From point B, measure the half of the measurement bust front to the right and mark the point B1. The segment B to B1 equals 23 centimeters. From point B, measure the half of the measurement bust circumference to the right and mark the point B2. The segment B to B2 equals 44 centimeters. Draw the perpendicular lines downward from points B1 and B2. The intersection points with the horizontal lines are marked U1, T1, S1, H1, and U2, T2, S2, H2, respectively. From the point B, measure the half of the measurement bust center to the right and mark the point C. The segment B to C equals 9 centimeters. We also draw the perpendicular line from point C downward, and the intersection points with the horizontal lines are marked as C1, C2, C3, C4. Divide in half the segment B1 to B2 and mark the point D. Draw the perpendicular line from point D. The intersection points with the horizontal lines are marked D1, D2, D3, D4. From point B, measure the distance equal to clip 2 toward top, upward along the vertical line and mark the point A. The segment B to A equals 8 centimeters. I draw the horizontal line from point A to the intersection with the vertical line through point C and mark the point A1. The grid is drafted. I believe that the following is clear even from the grid drafting. The point C indicates the bust center. Therefore, the line A1 to C4 going through point C is the front curve line. The line A to H is the front center line. We mark the point B1 by using the measurement bust front. Therefore, the line B1 to H1 is the side line. The line D to D4, which divides the back pattern in half, is the back curve line. The line B2 to H2 is the back center line. The continuation of the pattern drafting is considered in the next tutorial.